AI does a much better job than any human being ever can, because it is looking at the responses of candidates and not where they come from, what their skin color is, what their background is.
Welcome to the HR Dialogues, where we learn from people practitioners as they navigate the emerging world of work. Today we've got an exciting episode lined up where we will be talking about remote working, what does the future look like, as well as also understanding how AI is changing the HR technology landscape. My guest today is Qasim Asad Salam. He's the CEO and co-founder of Remotebase, and he'll be sharing some of the progress that they've been making in Silicon Valley pertaining to the infusion of AI into their technology, as well as Remotebase, a company that helps organizations place software engineers in order to drive success. Qasim, welcome to the HR Dialogues.
Thank you so much for having me, Dieter. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
I can imagine that the AI conversation at the moment is quite a hot topic and one with various debates and views that you're seeing. I'd love to just get your view on, what you think is happening in that space and what does the future hold?
Yeah. So it's very interesting that you brought this up. So internally at Remotebase, let's first talk about what are we doing in tech. So my personal opinion is that AI is the pace of AI right now is insanely fast. It's transformational. It's something once in a lifetime. Us as humans are have never in history, and I don't know, probably never. I don't want to say never will, but we're experiencing a transformational change, and AI is going to change everything. And then what are we doing, and what is the broader industry doing? We as remote base, so we actually built an AI that was able to conduct live conversational interviews for any job description in the world. So you just give it a job description, and it can conduct live screening interviews that are really, really good. So we implemented it internally, and it worked so well that we were able to interview over 1,000 candidates through this AI, that we launched it as a product a couple of weeks ago. It's called Talently. And in 2 weeks, right now, we've bypassed over 900 companies using the product, over 2,000 interviews apart from our interviews that have been conducted on the platform. And it's insane how good it is. All you it asks for is a job description. It can have a conversation like you and I are having right now, in terms of actually interviewing candidates. So pretty interesting. And then in terms of the broader level, I think I see the concept of agents, which is that in AI, which is that there are going to be different AI agents. For example, we've built an AI interview agent that is able to conduct conversational interviews. So there are going to be agents like AI virtual assistants, AI software engineers, and then there are going to be marketplaces. There are going to be companies specializing in bringing these agents together as well. So every agent is going to be trained on something different, which will have a massive impact on roles that are digital, and especially in tech, because even right now AI is able to GitHub released some stats that this year I think 44% of code on GitHub or something like that was written by AI, which was mind blowing to me. But it's going to have a huge impact on people, on their jobs, on their roles. I'm not saying everybody's going to be out of business because of AI, but I am saying that if you're not leveraging the technology, for every single role across the board, might be as small as using ChatGPT to write content, but if you're not leveraging technology, then there's a very high chance that somebody else that is able to leverage that technology will be able to do your job, not one or two, but like 10 times faster, 10 times better than you.
Mm. I think there's interesting findings also from from MIT at the moment around increases in personal productivity and some of those components that we find where people need to learn. And I think that is a skill set for the future. How do I work with technology almost as a companion and what that looks like? And I am also a firm believer that the conversation should not be around which roles are AI going to replace. It should be about how work is going to look different. And then based on that, how we're going to design work in a very different way. Because I think there is opportunity also for unlocking meaningful work and new value. On the other side of the coin, what risks do you see? I mean, I know there's the big risk around bias. There's a lot of conversations around privacy and what that's going to look like. So, what's on the horizon that you think we should be on the lookout for if we want to adopt AI responsibly?
I think multiple risks. AI is going to be doing a lot of the work faster, better, in any and every way possible. So it will make some jobs redundant. So, for example, right now we can see like content writing is being done a lot by AI. I'm not saying it's perfect, but um, where you needed 10 content writers, now you might need two because they can just go through the content written by AI. Similar with software engineering, where one software engineer took 2 days to do the job. Now they can do it in one job, which means you've essentially doubled the supply of software engineers in the world because they've become more productive. So that is a risk, right? So that means that software engineering will over the next 12 to 18 months become less competitive in like basic level software engineering. Not highly technical roles will become less competitive because there will be more people that will be able to do it, more people that will be able to learn it. It's not going to be as difficult as it was to become a software engineer because you can do it through just messaging on chat gpt and asking it to teach you how to do it. So that's one concern. Second concern is that I think in this race towards building AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, um, it's more focused towards pace than safety and security. Because if us as an organization or like somebody else as an organization prioritizes and is building a foundational large language model, prioritizes security and safety and takes things slowly, then the competitor that doesn't do that is going to come in and take over the entire market. So it's very hard to build that balance when the motivation is to hit AGI as quickly as possible, because the company that does that is $100 trillion company, right? It's a company that's unheard of. It's a company that's like you've created a species that's smarter than human beings ever were and ever will be, right? Because it's able to learn it, because it then you move from a linear trajectory of learning stuff as humans do, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, and you get onto Moore's law, which is doubling processing power every year consecutively over the last 60 70 years. And AI is able to run simulations in hours of what a human will run in their lifetimes, right? So they're able to learn quicker. So that's going to happen, and that's going to be a big risk for humanity. And I'm not somebody that says it's doomsday scenario. I feel like it's going to bring a lot of positives in this world, but there is some percentage of risk involved, which says, okay, we want to make our work faster. We want to make our whatever we're doing faster. And I think it's going to be similar for AI as well. When AGI is built, then we'll be in the way of progress. So it's a really exciting but scary times ahead.
I want to bring it slightly closer to HR before we start wrapping up. And I mean, I think we've already seen, the application of AI before in, the recruitment process. We've seen it in coaching. We've seen it in learning and development. We've seen it in analytics, etc. Um, I'd love to find out a little bit more about the interviewing AI that you spoke about, just in terms of what were some of the interesting things that led you towards that, and what has been some of the learnings of applying that.
Yeah, definitely. So we built it internally because right now remote base gets over 10,000 applicants every month, and it was humanly impossible for us to manually screen all those applicants. So it was a big issue for us. So we built first automations internally, which was we built like an integration with HackerRank where the candidates had to do a couple of interviews on HackerRank, had to spend upwards of 2 hours on those tests. We used another tool that did like a video interview, but you'd see text on the screen and people would have to answer that on screen. Very, very impersonal. Absolute people absolutely hated doing that. Hacker rank was very lengthy. So lots and lots of problems there, right? And then AI was progressing. We thought, okay, why don't we build an AI that is able to do that? And that's kind of how the idea came about. It worked so well that we did A/B testing, and the AI literally got better in front of our eyes. So you send a link to you add a job description, you generate an AI interviewer for that particular job description, and then you share the link with candidates. Candidates can then simply go on those calls, almost exactly like the call we are on right now, where you're speaking to the AI and you're having a conversation with AI. And then the AI asks you questions, you give answers. If you don't give like very complete answers, the AI will dig deeper into those answers and say, okay, you said, tell me what projects you worked on. Okay, what did you do in this particular project? How did you handle scaling? So very deep interviews. And then after that, this is like super exciting. After that, if it's a technical role, the AI conducts a live coding interview. So it asks you to code live while you're on the call, and it is looking and reading your code and giving you feedback while you're coding. So it's like pair programming while you're interviewing. And then after that is done, you get the company gets an entire report of an overall score, of rooms for improvement, of every single question, what the candidate said and what the AI asked, and then the ideal response, what it should have been, and what the response was, and how that response could have been better. A score against every single question on based on that response, a video of the entire interview, and and a transcript of the entire conversation, so recruiters can look back and see what happened. So that's what's built already. It's talently.ai. Anybody can go and try it out. And what we're building next as part of the suite is AI sourcing as well. So you just give it a job description, it it comes up with the ideal candidate profile for that job description. It fetches data through some databases that we are using and gets all the candidates that fall on that job description with their email addresses, and then starts reaching out to those candidates with customized messages talking about the position that's open, and start sourcing those candidates for you as an organization.
I think it's such a good example of how AI is, you know, changing the entire practice of how we think about sourcing and how we think about, you know, the interviewing process. Any controls and things that you've got in place there to check quality? I mean, obviously you've already experimented with some of that as well.
Yeah. So I think with prompt engineering and with using like some APIs, um, I think early days was a lot of trial and error, figuring out what works and what doesn't work. Um, Once that part is done, so prompt engineering is like basically telling the AI what to do and what not to do. And I think building a rubric around that on how to evaluate candidates has been there's been a lot of work done on that. So we built a rubric around that on how to evaluate candidates based on the job description. And then in terms of bias, I think AI does a much better job than any human being ever can, because it is looking at the responses of candidates and not where they come from, what their skin color is, what their background is. It's actually not basing any of the interviews on that, because it doesn't have access to that, right? Like, even though it has a video, but based on what we've built, it's not evaluating you on your video, but evaluating you on the responses that you give, which eliminates a lot of the bias that comes with recruitment.
Is only the start of some of these evolutions and innovations that we will see. Because I'm going to wrap up for us. Thank you very, very much for sharing so much insight. I know we had a very good, meaningful, and broad conversation. We also then spoke quite how AI is also starting to play a role within how we think about sourcing and how we think about hiring and how we think about the interviewing process. And you also sharing some of the experiments that you've been running and some of the great work that you've been doing as part of your team in that particular space as well. Kasam, from my side, thank you very, very much. Any last words from you? And where can people find out more about you, and where can they follow you and the work that you're busy with?
Just add me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. And for any of the viewers, Qasim Asad Salam, I look over my LinkedIn every single day, respond to people. And then in terms of last words, I think we're in for a very exciting future. I wake up every morning being extremely excited about the space. A lot of changes happening.
No, appreciate that, and I think definitely words for people to take to heart and think about. Kasam, from my side, thank you very, very much. Appreciate you being a guest on the HR Dialogues, and all the best. And I hope we will catch up soon.